All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into today's edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and as always, we're going to be diving into the Web3 gaming landscape, and I have the pleasure of being joined by the head honcho from the top Web3 gaming project, in my opinion, in the entire space. Kieran from Illuvium is going to join us today. We're going to talk about all their recent developments. They had a major partnership come out yesterday with GameStop. They just did a big raise as well that goes towards the development of furthering the ecosystem. Really excited to hear his thoughts on everything going on inside their ecosystem, as well as, where play to earn gaming is in today's landscape with everything going on. So without further ado, let's get into it. Like the video down below and subscribe for more every single day here on Banter and on In the Game. And quick shout out to our sponsors, Bybit, for all of your trading needs. Sign up for a Bybit account down below. NordVPN, always navigate safely throughout crypto. Never disclose your IP address whenever you're navigating these websites. And last but not least, Vulcan Forge, one of the leading blockchain gaming ecosystems in the entire space. Let's go ahead and bring on Kieran. Kieran, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, Hustle. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I appreciate you joining me again. I know last time, we had you on. It was a great show, super valuable. And I just love hearing from inside the lines with Illuvium, kind of everything going on. So pleasure having you.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot going on these days, but yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me again.
It's refreshing. Unfortunately, a lot of our space for a long time, I feel like, has just been, a lot of promises and not a lot of delivery. And what you guys are doing differently is actually delivering product. So I think first and foremost, kudos to what's been going on in the ecosystem, because not a lot of games can even say they have progressed in this time period, especially the ones that have been building for a long time, right? And
Yeah,
kind of had that hype in the initial peak of the bull market. But you guys have really triumphed through that. So first and foremost, I have to applaud you guys for that. And I'll give a slight intro for you if you want. For anyone who might not know about Illuvium or might not know about your background somehow, go ahead and introduce yourself. And then in your own words, what is Illuvium?
Yeah, so I'm the one of the co-founders of Illuvium, and what we're building is the first AAA interoperable universe of games. So we've got 3 titles in production at the moment, and they're either in alpha or beta. First one is Illuvium Zero, which is like a city builder type game where you need to play on your virtual land plot. Then we've got Illuvium Overworld, which is more similar to like a creature capture Pokemon style of game. And then you've got the Arena, which is more the competitive side of things. If you've ever played League of Legends Teamfight Tactics, it's trying to compete with that game. But the cool thing is that all of the assets are interoperable across the different games, and any future games that we plan to build inside of the universe utilizing the IP will also be, you'll be able to basically transfer them across the different games.
Yeah, perfect. And I love the well-rounded aspect of the ecosystem. I think, all the products kind of tie together at the end of the day, and they all kind of have their interoperability. That term's so overused in the space, but I think with Illuvium, it actually rings true because of the things that you can do kind of intertwined in the ecosystem. And I know right now, I believe Private Beta 2 is live. What's some of the feedback that you've gotten from Private Beta 2, and what is like the gameplay loop that people can expect to hop into?
Yeah, so Private Beta 2 is the addition of mainly 2 new regions, a whole bunch of new alluvials, few different movement mechanics as well. As you're seeing here, we've added the glide mechanic, and you've also got the ability to jump in things like bubbles, and you can slide as well. So the feedback has been that the regions are extremely beautiful. They're super vast. They're massive in their nature, and they're very unique as well. And so we have a lot of feedback from like young kids out there that their parents have been invested in Illuvium for a long time, and then they get them to jump in, and they're like, whoa, it looks like a Fortnite world and stuff like that. So the feedback from that perspective has been really good. But at the same time, there's been some critique that the overworld feels a little bit empty, but it's an overworld, right? So it's in private beta. This is a huge project that we've undertaken. There's 7 different regions that we plan to build out over time. And what you're not seeing in this private beta is the lore aspects, the things like tutorials that you need to do where you've got to go up and, finish quests and stuff like that. So there is critique, but again, it kind of speaks to what you were talking about in the intro. These games take a long time to build. And yes, you can go in and play the private beta and you can go into these regions and it's fun to walk around, and you can also go and capture alluvials. Obviously there's definitely that, but there's so much more that we have to add into that overworld. It is a little bit, it does have that feeling of like, oh, I wish there was more,
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of Web3, right? So the people need to understand, in my opinion, is with a lot of these ecosystems and games like Illuvium Overworld, whenever you jump in, you guys are bringing the user along with the development, which I think is super important to remember. A lot of games like Activision or Blizzard or any game studios out there that build a product, they're not going to put it out until it's basically almost in its final stages, because they don't want to, it's not like Web3 where we have this ability, and as a project, you have the ability to walk your community through each step, which I think is really powerful. So people definitely need to keep that in mind, in my opinion. And that's the feedback I've seen, is actually, it's very Fortnite-esque. I mean, the environments are super impressive. And like, just whenever you jump in, and just the world aspect of it is really in depth. Like, how long, or first and foremost, like, how long has Overworld itself been in development for someone who's not familiar? And then how big is the team working on this?
Working on the Overworld, there's obviously tons and tons of artists that are working on this, but the actual development side of it, there's like 15. It's a very, very small team when you consider what they've built. And obviously there's additional people like in that need to test the overworld, and as I said, we've got many artists that are working on all of the different elements in this. But it's been pretty much since inception we've been building this, so I would say 2.5 years, but it takes around 2 years to complete a full region. So it's a bit of a process.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I remember reading an article, I don't know if it was like 6 months ago or so, that said that, Illuvium you guys have a 10-year plan to kind of make this one of the biggest games in the world. So I love that approach, first and foremost, and it makes sense. And another thing that people have to understand is that the development curve on these games, it takes a lot to build a AAA video game. And I think people overlook that. They think that, they see a Call of Duty come out every single year and they think, oh, it's easy, right? But they have billions of dollars and the best top of the line, hundreds and hundreds of developers. So it's quite a task to build something of this quality. So once again, it's really impressive in the short amount of time that you guys have pushed this product.
Yeah, 100%. Especially when you're considering that we have 2 other titles which you can literally go and play right now. It shows just how good our team are. They work relentlessly, and we go. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, where I've been on multiple crypto shows where I'm saying, we've got a team which is just incredibly fast at what they do. Now it's good to be able to finally say, like, we can showcase it, right? Yeah. Like, it's not all talk anymore. It's literally get in and play these games. And what you were what you were discussing about the community being on the journey, that is 100% true in Web3, but I feel like it sort of happens accidentally. And at least in terms of gaming inside of crypto. And the reason is because you've got investors that are public facing, right? That literally are in your Discord talking to you every single day. And you also don't, there was so much hype in the gaming space, and there were so many people who were saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do it super quickly. And they didn't have much of a team behind them, or they would go and get an outsourced studio to do it. And so we felt like we need to show that we actually have some substance there. And OverWorld probably wouldn't have been released if something like Arena had been around and we had, you know, thousands and thousands of players. We could probably have the benefit of saying, we're going to do what Activision does, and similarly, we're going to build in stealth our new title, or this other title that we're building, and wait until it's got, you know, a ton of depth. But the community is on this journey, and they're relentless with wanting to know, like, what's going on, where's the updates. And so it kind of just happens that we just leak everything that we're building.
Yeah, it's a luxury to be able to do it and actually have your community give you that feedback. But at the same time, you know, like you said, it would be a beauty to do it in stealth, like you said. But I honestly think the transparency of putting these out layer by layer is really, it speaks volumes. And especially as a top of the line project, as Illuvium is, and the depth of the game that you guys are building, both of the private betas for the overworld have been super impressive, in my opinion. So I think that you guys are doing it right, and other projects can definitely take note and try to, you know, do their best to replicate it. It would be very hard to replicate what you guys have done, in my opinion. And then talk about Illuvium 0. I think season 1's live right now. So I think this has to do with like the land plot side of the ecosystem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but how's the feedback been on Illuvium 0 so far? And what are the common things you're hearing from that?
Illuvium 0 is like the giant sleeper, where its intention early on was firstly for us to be able to utilize digital land in a way where we're not just saying, hey, come and buy our land, and it's just this massive cash grab. It was designed to be the backbone of our entire economy, and it ties into that, again, I hate to use this word again, but that interoperability, where the fuel system, the minerals that you're generating from this game are what you need to play in the overworld to actually capture the alluvials. So it's absolutely critical for you to be able to get access to this, whether that's through the marketplace of someone who's already playing Illuvium 0 and selling that fuel to you, or if you want to buy your own plot. And so we gave it utility almost immediately. And again, I think that's a bit of the difference. I mean, for me, I get sort of Command and Conquer vibes from the graphics. I think once we uplifted them, it was pretty impressive, but as well, it's designed to be played on mobile. And so we found that mobile games in crypto were extremely popular because of developing nations that want to be able to get in.
Absolutely.
And so we needed to have a title, like obviously Overworld and Arena, they're extremely good, high graphical games. There wasn't the ability to immediately port them to mobile. So we decided to build this, but then how do we fit it into the ecosystem? And I think the numbers actually speak for themselves. We've got more active players on Illuvium 0 than our other games, and that's been consistent across the board. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's I think it's an underutilized market too in Web3 gaming. I think I just recently saw how 𝗙𝗵𝗄𝗃 got like listed on the App Store in certain regions, and a lot of games have to fight through the test flight stage on the Apple side. And there's just there's so many roadblocks, it feels like. What devices is this available on currently?
So we're just Android for now, but yeah, the plan is before public beta that we're obviously going to join the App Store as well.
Yeah.
There's definitely some complexity there with agreements and licenses and stuff like that. So, but again, we'll work through that. That's not going to be an issue in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. I totally see this being listed on the App Store, no problem, eventually. And I just want to ask, obviously, I don't think it's in the cards, but from yesterday's announcement with the Apple mixed reality headset, do you guys ever plan to maybe integrate some sort of experience onto like a VR, AR? Obviously, that's so talked about in like the metaverse, the open world landscape of games and experiences. Is that something like in the cards that you guys have ever thought about or maybe move towards in the future?
Again, we've got some pretty crazy artists that have worked on different games that have integrated AR and stuff like that. But the honest answer is obviously we've thought about the overworld having that type of experience, but it's so far in the future that I don't even like to talk about it. Right? Like we try and stick to things that are in that 10-year plan, and maybe it sneaks in the next 5 years because the technology advances massively. But at this point, we've got enough on our plate.
Absolutely.
To,
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there since it is kind of a hot topic. And another hot topic before we move to, I think, some really awesome stuff going on with just the business development side and some partnership collaborations that you guys have pushed recently. What's your view on, if you hop on Twitter and you just check the sentiment, a lot of people say play to earn's dead, this and that about how earnings in games aren't going to work and these ecosystems are all flawed. What's your thought on like the future of the reward side of these ecosystems going forward? Is play to earn dead? What's your thoughts on that?
The reason why I don't say play to earn is dead or any of these different things that people say is because it is still possible, right? Like you can go into Illuvium and you can play the game and you might be able to earn some money, right? Like that if you jump into the overworld and you capture something that is valuable, you can go into our marketplace and you can sell it, right? And that just comes purely from having ownership over your assets and a digital marketplace where you can sell those assets for real world value, potentially, right? It's not something that we say, you're going to get rich from playing this, or you're going to be able to leave your job if you're in a developing nation, or all of these things, right? Like that's not a marketing ploy for us. It's firstly to have fun, right? Like that's at the core of every single one of our games is really fun gameplay loops that people will keep on wanting to come back to over and over and over. A lot of that comes from it being super competitive in nature, and that's what makes video games good. And so that's what we focus on first. But again, that's not saying that you can't win a tournament and we have a bunch of ILV that is up for grabs and you're going to earn some ILV. Now, is ILV worth real world money? Yes, it is. So that's why I don't sort of say play to earn is dead, because it's definitely possible inside of our ecosystem, but it's just not the same idea of what people have in their head from 2021, where there was a bunch of games where it was basically get in first and get out before the crash. And if you do, that's how you earn, and you go to the next one, the next one, the next one. Like it's the polar opposite of that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that like the reward side, I think play to earn is dead is more based off that first model that you just mentioned, the inflationary tokens, first in, first out mentality, and just get out before the crash. I think that's the negative stigma that it gets. But at the end of the day, people earn off their CSGO pools and they can sell those, and it's real world value. It's technically potential play to earn. I more think it's part of the terminology. So I agree with you 100% on that regard. And thank you for the transparent answer there for sure. And let's get into a couple of the recent developments in the ecosystem, which I think are super impressive in this climate, especially. So I see here, you know, that you guys had just done a raise of 10 million in funding from Framework Ventures. A lot of this is looking like it's obviously going to go towards the development of Overworld and other pillars of the ecosystem. What went into this, and then what's, you know, where is this going to be allocated towards?
A lot of hard work went into this. It's tough out there. Like I'm not gonna lie. Back in 2021, we finalized our raise when, you know, we had very minimal to show for it, and we were able to close that out in like 2 weeks, something like that. This one took closer to 4 months, I would say. There was a lot of DD that went into this. They pretty much scrutinized everything, and these guys are partners with us. They were our lead investor in our 2021 round, and it was like to be honest, it was like being punched in the face with reality of like how deep in the bear market we are, because, you know, there was so much scrutiny over, okay, how much, what are the numbers underneath the hood? Like how many people are actually playing the betas? How many people do you actually have registered? Like, where's development at? When do you actually think you're going to be able to launch? Tons and tons and tons of numbers and graphs and stuff like that we needed to come up with. And but, you know, these guys believe in us, right? They did from 2 years ago, and they do now, and they believe in our team thoroughly. And at the end of the day, these are funds that might not even be needed. You know, we're launching at the end of this year, and I think if we do our job correctly and the games are fun to play, that revenue is going to stream through. It's going to naturally just happen. And so this was more a safety fund of if things if something goes drastically wrong, we don't want to be in a position where we don't have that runway. But and they knew that, and so it was likely a good deal for them, but it was, you know, also a good deal for us.
Yeah, and I think the best word here that would describe exactly what you just mentioned, it's kind of like a safe injection of capital, just in case you guys do need that for you know, we never know, you know, in this industry, in Web3, some things just pop up out of nowhere every single day. So yeah, I totally get
startup. That. So yeah,
exactly. Not a lot of games could build half or a quarter of what you guys have, let alone with the funding that, you know, you guys are able to raise, which I think is just so impressive, honestly, in this market climate. Like you said, VCs are just so much tighter these days on what they're dishing out and who they're investing in. So honestly, it's just it's a testament to the quality of the team and a quality of the product that you guys have built out so far. And it's exciting to know how much is in the pipeline for the future.
Yeah. It's there's a lot to build. It's not going to be easy.
And then last but not least, yesterday there was kind of a bombshell announcement that you guys dropped, collaborating with GameStop with the upcoming disc sale. So what is the kind of details here with GameStop? How did this materialize? And then what can people expect from this launch? I believe it's on June 12th.
Yeah, so this is obviously a huge one. It's pretty much our first little foray into touching Web 2 people and that sort of market. And obviously GameStop, they're a bit of a hybrid, right? So it's a safer bet for us to dip our toe in the water. They've obviously got their GameStop NFT marketplace, and we started speaking to them. It was actually an introduction that I got through Robbie from IMX, and because they did an integration which seems to be like 18 months ago now. It might actually be 18 months ago. And they were like, Illuvium is this amazing game. Like, they actually have substance. They've got a beta out, all of this kind of stuff. And so we started talking to them then. And it was more on our side for the reason that it didn't come to fruition until now. But It's this really cool limited sale where we've got 108 different variations of 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗲𝗏, which you can see here. They're pre-bonded accessories, so they're like super high quality art, where the art team from our concept team have gone pretty deep in making this look extremely good. It's different to our normal 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗲s in that there's only 20,000. And the crazy thing is, it's going out to 5.5 million GameStop Pro Rewards members. So I mean, I don't like to speculate on these types of things, but limited NFT sales in their nature anyway are, there's a lot of FOMO. We're lucky in that we do it on layer 2, so there's not going to be a whole bunch of gas wars and you see, massive spikes and stuff like that. But it's still very, very limited when you think about how many people we've got in our ecosystem and how many people they've got in their ecosystem. And yeah, it's going live on the 12th, and I think it's going to be really, really good to see all of the exposure that we get finally to a Web2 community / Web3.
Yeah, it's like the perfect integration, in my opinion. And you mentioned the millions of users that this could be exposed to through GameStop Pro, right?
They're directly emailing them and letting them know, hey, this sale is going on. And so we're expecting a huge amount of traffic, and particularly because I would be a little bit worried if these guys hadn't been exposed to NFTs, but because they have, it's going to be a little bit more palatable. But going even still now, NFTs, crypto gaming, it's a sore spot with a lot of mainstream gamers out there. But I think this is an easy enough integration that it should go well.
Yeah, I agree completely. 20,000 pieces to that level of exposure, and then add you guys' community on top of it. I think this is going to be a really smash hit as far as the success goes.
And only $50 as well.
That was my next question.
So like, you see a lot of NFT collections that are limited in their numbers, and they price them at like 0.8 ETH or whatever, and you're like, it'll probably sell out, but like, that people are just getting in to flip it.
Yeah.
Whereas this is all about collectibles. It's like a super limited edition pack of cards that you're going to be able to have forever. And it's accessible to most people, right? Like 50 is obviously still higher than your typical like pack of Pokemon cards, but it's not saying like, hey, you need to pay $1,200 US for this, which we're trying to get away from that. That just, it's not conducive with what games and collectibles typically are,
Yeah, absolutely. Will this be purchasable? Is it going to be ETH, or will it be like a Web2? Is there a Web2 payment for those GameStop users, for example? Or is there going to be like a credit card option, or is it going to be strictly on ETH? Or
no, it's on the 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗶, so there's no you can pay in ETH, but there isn't a credit card option, unfortunately.
Okay. I was just curious, but luckily with IMX, I believe they do have a fiat on ramp, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, you can definitely load it up using your credit card directly into IMX, and then you just essentially just switch it in, and away you go. You're using your ETH.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a testament. I know you guys have been building with 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗶 for quite a while, and I think that y'all are a match made in heaven as far as game quality and then company quality that 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗶 brings with their blockchain and the ease of access. They're doing a really good job of lowering that barrier as well. So I do think the Illuvium, IMX, and then now from a counterpart of that, GameStop connection, I do think it's a really good synergy.
Yeah, to be honest, they get it, and this is why we went with them early on. Is they built Gods Unchained, which is one of the first games in the entire crypto ecosystem, And so we knew that they'd run into the problems of like high gas fees and onboarding that was clunky as anything. And you've got people who are like, I'm not playing, like, I don't know what this is. I don't have a wallet. I don't, it's how do I transfer ETH? And so they definitely get it. And for what we're trying to do in this space and actually bring the first 10, 20, 30, 50 million people in from mainstream, it needs to be, I didn't even know that I was playing a crypto game.
Exactly.
And that's what they're helping us build and integrate. So it definitely is a match made in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's been awesome watching you guys build alongside each other and the integrations over time. I thought the land sale went really well. It was like kind of an auction style. I thought that was a super innovative way to go about it. And I mean, y'all smashed that. I'm assuming that this is going to be another smash hit. And I know where $50 of my IMX wallet is going on June 12th. Kieran, awesome. Is there anything that I didn't highlight that you maybe wanted to mention before we wrap it up?
No, I think we covered everything. It was short and sharp. That's awesome.
Yeah, I try to make sure we get through all the major updates, and I think it was a much needed update after our last show, which, like I said, great information. But now that we have some of the betas live, we have a massive raise, which once again is a testament to what you guys are building. And then this exciting integration on the 12th. I'm really stoked for everything that you guys have presented, and I think it's just good for the space. Seeing the product quality actually in action. A lot of projects talk, but not a lot delivers. So kudos to you and the team. And I really appreciate you. I know it's early where you are. Thank you for taking the time out today to join me.
No worries.
And especially with how busy you guys are. So very much appreciated.
All good. Thanks so much for what you do with the space. Really appreciate you highlighting different projects. It's awesome to come on here and yeah, can't wait to keep on delivering. I think you're definitely right. It's much needed in this space.
Absolutely. Guys, follow Illuvium on Twitter at 𝗍𝗵𝗍𝗍 as well. Kieran, what's your Twitter?
Mine's just Kieran Warwick. So yeah.
Perfect.
Pretty basic.
Yeah, alrighty. Guys, like the video down below and subscribe. Like I said, go shoot Illuvium a follow if you want to keep up with their updates. Looking forward to the 12th on the Illuvium and GameStop launch, and just to see the future launches and the gameplay progression that they put out on OverWorld, Zero, and the Arena. So guys, like the video and subscribe as mentioned, and we'll be back next time. As always, play well, my friends.